Humanity had finally made contact with the Galactic Coalition, a sprawling alliance of alien civilizations bound together by ancient treaties, shared technology, and an unspoken belief in their own superiority. Earth's entry into the interstellar community had been met with polite applause and thinly veiled condescension. Humanity was considered a Class 4 development species, a polite way of calling them infants still crawling in the dirt of space. So when the Coalition gifted Earth with a cache of old starships, decrepit weapons platforms, and obsolete technology cores, the gesture was framed as generosity. A starter kit for an up-and-coming species. The news broadcasts across Earth praised the event. Politicians smiled for cameras beside the twisted hulks of decommissioned destroyers. The Coalition ambassadors beamed as they explained how these relics once held off pirates and minor rebellions, now graciously offered to uplift humanity. But not everyone was fooled. To the engineers, physicists, and tacticians who actually examined the so-called gift, it was clear this wasn't a gesture of goodwill. It was a leash. The ships were non-functional. Their reactors had been stripped, cores detuned, weapon systems removed or welded shut. Worse still, most of the systems were deliberately scrambled with proprietary Coalition software that required alien authorization codes to even boot. The whole gift was a diplomatic slap, insult disguised as charity. An unspoken message. You're not ready, but here's some toys to keep you occupied. While most of Earth's leaders quietly fumed and tried to play along, deep in the Ganymede shipyards, hidden beneath layers of rock and ice, a different conversation was taking place. Kalen Dross, an eccentric genius and former aerospace architect turned whistleblower, studied the alien scrap with a different eye. Where others saw rusted bones, she saw scaffolding. Where they saw discarded junk, she saw the outline of opportunity. Kalen had been burned by Earth's bureaucracy before, her designs dismissed as too radical and unpredictable. But now she had no restrictions. She gathered a team, not government employees, but outliers, hackers, outlaw engineers, expelled AI programmers, disgraced quantum physicists. They were called the scrapwrights, a term coined by one of the crew who likened their work to medieval blacksmiths reforging broken swords. Their mission was simple: take the insult and weaponize it. Piece by piece, the team began breaking down the alien tech. In place of the gutted reactors, they installed unstable but efficient dark matter hybrids developed secretly in Antarctica. Where weapon bays had been sealed, they implanted modular hardpoints designed to adapt to whatever battlefield conditions demanded. The hulls, once outdated and brittle, were remade with layers of Earth-developed carbon shift alloys and something entirely new: a reactive memory mesh that could learn from incoming fire. It was slow, careful work. Everything had to be done in complete secrecy. Coalition observers were everywhere, monitoring Earth's progress, ready to step in if humanity misused their precious toys. But the scrapwrights stayed hidden, building beneath the ice in silence. And as they assembled the first frame of the ship that would one day be known as the Iron Scythe, Kalen Dross whispered the words that would become the unofficial motto of the project. They gave us their garbage. Let's show them what monsters live in our scrapyards. The Coalition had handed humanity junk. Humanity would return it, sharpened into a blade. Ganymede had always been a place of exile. Too cold, too distant, too dangerous for the everyday business of Earth's interstellar ambitions. But for Kalen Dross, it was perfect. Silent, shielded by Jupiter's magnetic field, and beneath layers of frozen rock, invisible to the Coalition's orbital probes. There, in an abandoned mining facility converted into a makeshift black site, the scrapwrights got to work. They weren't soldiers. They weren't diplomats. They were the broken minds, the brilliant failures, the people Earth had cast aside for being too bold, too strange, too unstable. But now that madness was exactly what humanity needed. Coalition tech was designed to be incomprehensible. Thousands of redundant security layers, alien logic trees, and hardware that defied known physics. It was meant to be a lock humanity couldn't pick, but the scrapwrights didn't pick it. They hacked it open with a sledgehammer. Kalen had discovered something crucial in the so-called junk gifted by the Coalition. One of the data cores thought to be inert still had a diagnostic subroutine buried deep in its architecture. With enough power and careful bypassing, the team activated it, not to access weapon systems but to understand how the Coalition thought. They built simulators to mimic alien coding patterns, AI minds that could think like the designers of these ships, and then turned them against the very systems they protected. It was part deconstruction, part reinterpretation, and part chaos. When the scrapwrights couldn't make something work, they didn't discard it. They rewired it, welded on human-made modules, replaced crystal communication arrays with fiber optic worm-line networks. Old weapons were stripped, reimagined, and rebuilt using Earth's hybrid energy systems. The result wasn't a restoration, it was evolution. The centerpiece of their work became the prototype vessel known only as Project Iron Scythe. It was built from the skeletal remains of a Coalition frigate called Vexil Tora, a model long since retired due to structural instability. But what the aliens saw as weakness, Kalen saw as flexibility. The hull was restructured to be asymmetrical, erratic, designed to confuse targeting systems that expected standardized shapes and heat signatures. The engines were swapped for a fusion-grav hybrid drive capable of unpredictable micro-jumps, an Earth innovation previously banned under Coalition law. But perhaps most revolutionary of all was the hollow core, a classified experimental singularity, containment engine adapted from Earth's failed dark energy research. The Coalition had deemed the project too dangerous. Kalen deemed it perfect. With it, the Iron Scythe could produce power levels exponentially greater than any ship in Earth's fleet, rivaling even the mightiest Coalition dreadnoughts. They weren't just building a ship. They were building a challenge, a message. The work wasn't without cost. Accidents happened, radiation leaks, AI instability, and one horrifying incident when a test weapon collapsed a sub-bay into a gravity sink. 2 lives were lost. Kalen didn't stop. The dead were honored by name and added to the Iron Scythe's neural bank, a gesture as much ritual as technical. The ship would remember them, and through it all, Kalen kept the team focused with a single vision. This isn't revenge, it's revelation. They think we're small. Let's show them how big our shadows can get. In silence, beneath Ganymede's frozen crust, the weapon that would change the galaxy was awakening, not from fury, from underestimation. In the vast darkness between star systems, news traveled fast, faster than light, faster than diplomacy. It spread in fragments, data bursts, whispers over pirate networks and smuggler beacons. Something was moving in the outer rim of human space. Something fast, silent, and impossibly powerful. A Coalition patrol had vanished near the asteroid belt of Theta Hydra. It was supposed to be routine, an inspection run of one of the gifted ships the humans were supposedly refurbishing. 3 light cruisers and a command frigate entered the sector. Not a single signal came back. At first, the Galactic Coalition dismissed it as space anomalies or pirate interference. But then came the leaks, scrambled recordings from a distant mining drone, fragments of hulls floating in unnatural patterns, and one haunting audio file. A single distorted human voice uttering the phrase, "This is Iron Scythe. Test complete." The file shouldn't have existed. No official human vessel was authorized for live field testing. No human ship should have been able to engage, let alone erase an armed Coalition patrol. But the signal was authentic, verified, by multiple sources, including the Coalition's own intelligence agency, the Internal Stellar Order, ISO. Suddenly, Earth had the Coalition's full attention. Among those who took the matter seriously was Admiral Zareth Valuun, a hardened, strategic mind from the Moxari Empire. Where others scoffed at human defiance, Valuun studied it. He had read the ancient Terran histories, wars of rebellion, revolutions born from ashes, civilizations that punched above their weight. He knew better than to dismiss an underdog. Valuun pushed for answers. He demanded deeper scans of the Ganymede region, surveillance of Luna's dark side, and intercepts of human engineering chatter. What he found both intrigued and disturbed him. Bursts of unexplainable energy signatures, ghost ships appearing on long-range sensors, and coalition-aligned AI networks reporting logic pattern anomalies when attempting to analyze human ship designs. That was the moment Valoon realized something critical. This wasn't just a rogue project or an Earth military stunt. It was humanity adapting in real time, learning from alien technology and making it better and more terrifying. Behind closed doors, coalition leaders met to debate. Some called for immediate sanctions. Others proposed sending a larger force to re-establish compliance. But they were operating blind. The humans had gone dark, communications encrypted, projects classified, tech facilities untraceable. Meanwhile, Earth's public was still largely unaware of what was coming. The media spoke only vaguely of increased defensive capability and advancements in reverse engineering. The truth was tightly sealed. Only a few planetary defense officials and Black Ops divisions even knew of Project Iron Scythe, and even they didn't know how far it had gone. But Kalen Dross and the Scraprites weren't hiding out of fear. They were watching, listening, testing. Every coalition scan, every data probe, every whisper on the darknet was logged, decoded, and used to perfect the Iron Scythe. It was no longer just a weapon. It was a mirror. Every enemy move sharpened its edge. As the coalition debated and Valoon quietly marshaled intelligence, humanity stood on the edge of a precipice. They hadn't struck first, but when the blow came, it would be so precise, so overwhelming that the galaxy would ask itself a single question. How did humans turn junk into this? And by then it would be far too late. It began in silence. No grand declaration, no warning. Just a flicker, an anomaly, on the outer edges of coalition space near the Zenthari trade corridor. A routine escort convoy of 7 ships blinked, off long-range sensors mid-transit. No distress calls, no survivors, only a ripple of gravitational distortion and fading traces of dark matter exhaust. By the time coalition scouts reached the site, all that remained was wreckage, and a single scorched fragment of alloy embedded in the hull of a shattered cruiser. Scrawled into the metal with precision-cut plasma was a single word: Iron Scythe. The Galactic Coalition had spent centuries policing the galaxy with authority and arrogance. No species had ever dared to challenge them directly. What humanity did next wasn't just a strike, it was a message. Kalen Dross had watched the Coalition's movements for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity. That convoy? It wasn't random. It carried high-level encryption gear, weapons-grade antimatter, and classified AI cores bound for a frontier world. The Scraprites hadn't just chosen a target. They'd dissected its importance, its vulnerability, and its political weight. When the Iron Scythe entered the fray, it didn't move like a ship, it hunted. Its shape-shifting heat signature and asynchronous pulse engine made it nearly invisible to coalition sensors. Standard targeting systems failed. Auto turrets turned too slowly. Its weapons were modular chaos: gravity slings, focused EM lances, and kinetic rail bolts fired at relativistic speeds. In less than 60 seconds, the convoy was gone. The galaxy reeled. Pirate lords called it the Reaper ship. Fringe worlds speculated that Earth had uncovered some ancient superweapon. The Coalition, furious and afraid, went into full damage control. Official statements labeled the attack a rogue element and promised swift justice. But Admiral Valoon knew better. He called an emergency session with the Inner Council, showing them footage of the destruction, precise, clinical, and beyond anything Coalition war doctrine had accounted for. "This is no fluke," Valoon growled, his voice echoing across the chamber. "This is a weaponized ideology. Humans don't just build, they reforge." Still, the Council wavered. Many saw Earth as a backwater upstart that got lucky. Others warned against escalation. A few, mostly the elder species, insisted that the humans would come to heel once punished properly. Valoon issued a warning no one wanted to hear. If you confront them, as you've always done, with arrogance, they will break you. Back. On Ganymede, Kalen and the Scraprites received the Coalition's outrage with grim satisfaction. The Iron Scythe had performed perfectly. Every metric exceeded expectations. But they weren't finished. This had only been the blade's stroke. The real weapon lay not just in firepower but in fear. As data from the convoy attack rippled across known space, Earth's underground networks activated. Civilian systems were converted to military support. AI logistical nodes went dark, rerouted to encrypted black channels. And behind it all, Kalen smiled. Not from pride, but from clarity. Humanity had just shown what it could do with alien scrap. Next, they'd show the galaxy what they could do with purpose. And the Iron Scythe? It had tasted blood, and it wanted more. They came in force. After the destruction of the Zenthari convoy, the Galactic Coalition could no longer feign ignorance. Pride demanded retribution, and the ruling species, particularly the Cathari, Moxari, and Drelthans, assembled a task force of 20 warships. Among them were dreadnoughts, elite escort squadrons, and 2 experimental psionic command vessels. The Coalition dubbed the campaign Operation Reclaim. Their target, Ganymede. But by the time they arrived, Ganymede was empty, no emissions, no defense systems, no signs of human presence at all. The ancient mining facility was gutted, stripped down to its bones. What few systems remained were mock-ups, deliberately left behind to confuse and stall the Coalition's tech divisions. Worse, the core of the moon's infrastructure had been wired with self-destruct mechanisms. The moment they interfaced with the grid, a cascading electromagnetic pulse obliterated the fleet's recon AIs and corrupted targeting software across half the armada. It wasn't just a trap. It was a lesson. Kalen Dross and the Scraprites had never intended to defend Ganymede. It was bait, an open door into a house filled with traps. The real heart of Project Iron Scythe had already moved, deep into the asteroid fields of the Tartarus Expanse, where Coalition scanners failed and gravity anomalies tore apart standard vessels. There, the humans had established HoloNest, a hidden mobile shipyard network run by decentralized AI clusters and manned by Black Ops engineers. Dozens of new hulls were in production, each smaller than the Iron Scythe, but faster, leaner, and more agile. They weren't building another superweapon. They were building a fleet. As Coalition ships scrambled to repair systems above Ganymede, something appeared on their long-range sensors, then disappeared again. Moments later, 2 cruisers exploded from within, their antimatter cores breached by internal sabotage. Boarding parties had been deployed before the fleet even arrived. Cloaked infiltration pods launched from the Iron Scythe days earlier, programmed to lie dormant until the perfect moment. Panic swept the command structure, the Coalition's sense of superiority, their image of humans as resource-hungry scavengers, shattered in the icy vacuum of Jupiter's shadow. These weren't barbarians hurling repurposed junk. They were tacticians, engineers, predators. And they had been watching, studying every Coalition protocol, adapting faster than any civilization had a right to. Admiral Valoon, watching from a command center on Drelthan Prime, issued an emergency directive. Do not engage Earth forces without psychic oversight and hardened AI support. Do not assume human behavior follows rational battle doctrine. He had seen this pattern before in pre-FTL human history. Guerrilla warfare turned into total strategic dominance through speed, unpredictability, and absolute commitment. But even he didn't see what came next. From the edges of Coalition space, reports began flooding in. Entire listening posts going dark. Communications hubs fried by synthetic viruses. Civilian planets experiencing orbital interference from unknown ships. The Iron Scythe had not stopped after Ganymede. It had split. Using modular drone frigates and preloaded AI cores, it had seeded dozens of autonomous strike units across the sector. The galaxy had declared war on humanity, but humanity wasn't fighting a war. They were waging extinction, not on species but on complacency. On the very idea that any civilization could give them scraps and expect obedience. The Coalition had tried to clip Earth's wings. Instead, they taught humanity how to build blades. And now, Those blades were everywhere. The galaxy was no longer the same. The Coalition, once unchallenged rulers of the stars, now found themselves fractured, disoriented, and hunted. Humanity had transcended the label of mere scavengers. They had become architects of their own destiny, wielding the very weapons once meant to suppress them. After months of relentless raids, covert strikes, and fleet sabotage, the Coalition's once mighty armadas had been reduced to scattered remnants. The Iron Scythe and its progeny, sleek adaptive vessels born from alien scrap and human ingenuity, had rewritten the rules of space warfare. Each attack was surgical and swift, designed not just to destroy but to dismantle the Coalition's intricate web of control. Kalen Draw stood on the command bridge of the flagship Iron Scythe Prime, gazing out at the swirling nebulae beyond. The cold light of distant stars was a stark contrast to the fiery battles that had reshaped the sector. The Scrapwright's dream was no longer a secret project hidden beneath Ganymede's icy surface. It was a revolution. But victory had come at a cost. Earth and its colonies bore scars from decades of underfunding, sabotage, and political isolation. Now, with the Coalition in retreat, humanity faced a new challenge, rebuilding a shattered reputation and carving out a place in a galaxy that had once dismissed them as junkyard scavengers. Diplomatic channels, once frozen, began to thaw. Some species, pragmatic and fearful, sought alliances with Earth, recognizing the futility of opposing this new power. Others steeled themselves for the long road ahead, unwilling to bend but wary of further conflict. Kalen knew the true battle was just beginning, not in space, but in the hearts and minds of the galaxy's inhabitants. To lead, humanity would need more than weapons and strategy. It would need to embody resilience, ingenuity, and a willingness to forge new paths where none existed. The Iron Scythe fleet, now a symbol of human determination, patrolled the fringes of Coalition territory. Its ships operated under a new doctrine, one of deterrence and defense tempered by the lessons of war. They were guardians of humanity's hard-won freedom, ready to strike if threatened, but mindful of the fragile peace they sought to build. On board Iron Scythe Prime, Kalen addressed his crew and allies through a broadcast that echoed across human space. We were given scraps to break us. Instead, we built a blade. Not to cleave in hatred, but to carve a future. A future where humanity is no longer underestimated, no longer overlooked. This galaxy will remember us, not as the junk they discarded, but as the force that reshaped the stars. The speech resonated far beyond Earth's borders, inspiring countless worlds to reconsider their alliances and roles in the galactic order. But Kalen remained vigilant. He knew other powers watched, waiting for weaknesses to exploit, for old rivalries to flare. The galaxy was vast, and the story of humanity's rise was far from over. In the quiet moments between battles, the Scrapwrights continued their work, improving the fleet, studying new alien technologies, and preparing for the challenges yet to come. From the ashes of derision and neglect, humanity had forged a legacy, not just of survival, but of dominance. The Iron Scythe had cut through the darkness of doubt and fear, lighting a path to a new era, the era of humanity. The galaxy would never be the same again.